The A Baby Boomer. And this is a great peel for most skins. Have you seen the scar tissue soften up any as you've done some of the things? Probably from the home care, right?
Yes. And especially when I use the skin smoothing or the skin refining, it just smooths it out.
It looks really, really nice. In fact, you look like you're trying to get to a place of peeling right now. So it could be that with what you did last week and, you know, not doing that, that your skin has been nicely prepped. Now, what's a consideration with her skin? I thought somebody said it. The Fitzpatrick, is that what you said? Yeah, the Fitzpatrick. Right, because she's going to be prone to hyperpigmentation, really post-inflammatory. And so you would definitely approach the skin cautiously. You don't want to overstimulate, and we will want to use our melanin suppressant with this, okay? But this baby boomer peel, I call it, is really a very popular peel, and this would be a good one for you to do for the issues that you're talking about. It's pretty much the peel that Angela described without the microdermabrasion. So you should be able to do this. So we're going to give her a cleanse, and I'm going to use the pumpkin cleanser, and I'm doing kind of a 3-step prep. And this little treatment should take somebody about 30 minutes to do. And I would say you could charge anywhere from $150 to $200, depending on your market. And it's definitely considered a mid-depth peel. But sometimes you get even more than that from it. It does so well that it'll get the skin to a place that it seems like it's had a 7-day peel. The pumpkin enzyme cleanser is a good stripping cleanser for your peels. It has the pumpkin extract as well as lactic acid. And pumpkin has a lot of salicylic naturally in the pumpkin. And it also has a lot of beta carotene and vitamin A. And this is the cleanser I use on my skin every day. It actually gives my skin such a nice little polish, just this, for a cleanser, that it keeps me in pretty exfoliated. Now, if the client doesn't need to have, depending on how deep you want to have this be, you could combine your cleanser and your scrub. You notice I've got 2 steps on there. I've got the cleansing step with the pumpkin, and I also have the brightening scrub. And you could combine that if you wanted to speed your treatment up, or you didn't need to have it be prepped as much. standard 3-step prep that you can do for a lot of your peels, and especially the more depth that you want to get, would be to do a more stripping cleanser, and I will either choose my glycolic herbal wash, that's probably one of the most stripping, or the pumpkin, and then one of the granular scrubs. And this brightening scrub is really being used to kind of start with her a little deeper cleanse. I'm using it like a gommage to kind of further polish, exfoliate the surface cells. But because it's got a lot of kojic acid in it, it has the natural jojoba beads, so it's not too aggressive in terms of how it scrubs the skin. And by that I mean it doesn't tear the skin. The beads really roll over the face nicely with more of a polishing, rolling effect, but not a tearing effect. And then if she were really dealing with a lot of lesions or a thicker skin, or I just wanted to get even more depth, I would use the pumice wash. That's the strongest scrub that I have, and it does have the pumice grains, and it's got the antibacterials in it, and salicylic. It's a real nice scrub. But if you roll the granulars across the skin, as I am, like a gommage, you will get more and more breaking down of the stratum corneum without dehydrating. This actually adds a real element of moisture. For anyone who's used this, have you noticed that when you're doing this, how a very dehydrated skin after this will look much more moist and have a more buoyant look to it? Always come really back in the hairline, so you may have the hair kind of getting some of this, because it is so important that you have your peelings be very even and equal in terms of the areas you work. Now there's 2 ways to remove this. One, just a good water rinse with your gauze sponge, and then brush it dry, because those grains will not roll off with water completely. And the other is to do it dry first, and that gives kind of a mechanical exfoliation that gets more out of your grains, because as it's dry, like this, with this kind of firm strokes, you will get even more lifting of the skin. And so that's what makes this such a good prep, if you work it. I find that so many estheticians and people in general just under cleanse the skin and over moisturize, but estheticians, whenever we're kind of troubleshooting their work, it seems that they tend to kind of cut the cleansing steps a little bit. And I spend quite a bit more time with this, but I find that by doing that, it speeds up the rest of my procedure and gets me, you know, kind of the outcome that I'm wanting. And so don't cut this short. A good question. I'm so glad you brought that up, because we didn't talk about that. She asked, how do I feel about doing extractions prior to a peel? How do I feel about that, you guys? Right. You do never, never, never do extractions prior to a peel. And there are certain times when it's appropriate after certain peels to go ahead and then do some extractions. But typically you're better off to do your cleanup and extractions in a separate visit and then keep your peel, you know. But if you're dealing with a very pustulely, papule skin and you have to get a few lesions cleaned out, that can be done. It just needs to be done after the acids. Okay, I went back with my hands just to kind of brush away even more, And I mean, your skin feels real silky and smooth. And now I want to just do a water rinse to make sure I have every bit of that residue off. Again, now the protocol for this says to do the 25% AHA gel. I need the melanin suppressant. Oh, that is okay. But she's commented about her reaction to the AHAs, and I don't know 100% that that's what it is, but I think I would like to skip that step so that we can sort of investigate to see if she gets the same response when we do our TCA blend and vitamin A. And you know, we don't have any camphor solution, do we? Or fruit acid, yeah, camphor. Yeah, if we had a little camphor, I could do that on her instead. This is kind of warm, sort of a tepid, you know. It can be fairly warm still at this stage. We've just done cleansing. We've done a cleansing and a buffing, and so we can still be using, you know, warm water. And I love working with the white gauze because it lets me see everything that's coming off the skin and kind of what I'm achieving. It does a real good removal. Now, I don't know that she even really needs to have much more prepping, but I have a feeling that because of her Fitzpatrick, I will probably not take her in as many layers of the TCA. And so, with that in mind, I might want to use a step before that just to get me a little bit more breaking down. And so, because we're going to eliminate, on your protocol it says 25% AHA gel. And most of the time when you do this, that's a very good choice at this stage to go ahead and do that. Put it on the skin like it says all over evenly, leave it on for 3-5 minutes and rinse it off. And then you've got a very smooth, prepped skin. But I'm skipping that and changing it to something else just because of the comments that they've made about her skin reacting in the past to 20% lactic and to the herbal enzyme. And I want to see how she does with these two different acids and, you know, not put that on her. So in place of it, and how does your skin feel?
Feels great. Very clean.
Yeah, it is. It looks real good, and it's nice and slick.
I mean, you could end it right here, and I'd love it. Feels great.
Now this will inflame the skin some, and this is a subsurface prep. This really lifts more lipids out of the follicle, and you can see that coming off onto the gauze. It's the Fruit Acid Botanical. And I use this a lot. It's a treatment prep. You know, it stays on the skin, and it's got the salicylic. It does have a low strength glycolic, 5%. But it also does get into those pores, and it'll lift more of the oils out for you. So anytime you have an oilier skin or somebody with some impactions, just for wanting that subsurface prep to go in and lift out more, the Fruit Acid Botanical is always a good choice for that. And I don't know that you're able to really see all of this excess sebum and yellow that's come off on there, and yet there wasn't any on her gauze when I was cleaning her away. So that kind of tells me that there was still, you know, some lipids that we needed to lift out. But she looks good. It's just a little pink, but nothing that would be of any concern. In fact, this is a very nice, even, thorough 3-step prep. Stripping cleanser, buffing grains for deeper cleanse and cell removal, and then the fruit acid prep to take out the excess oils. All I did is have her put just a little of the melanin suppressant right in with my TCA salicylic. And it just will give me a little extra support. It's not going to change how her skin does with this formula, but because of her being, I would say she's at least a Fitzpatrick 5, wouldn't you? In terms of color and background. And so I want to just give myself a little edge for any problems with pigmentation coming up, because she really doesn't have an issue with that. She's got a nice, even, pretty skin tone, doesn't she? So I don't want to go in there and overstimulate and have something happen with the peel. And so I'm going to put this mixture on. This is the TCA Salicylic. And by the way, in terms of the prep, if I had wanted to even go a little further, or if she was unable to use the fruit acid botanical, we also have our camphor solution that I had asked for. That's the revitalizing lotion. And I use that a lot for our more intense peels. Really saturating heavy where she had the acne scars. Laying this mixture right into the skin, right up on the neck. Jasmine, this is a solution that you can get right on the neck without any real problems. The TCA and the salicylic are both very skin friendly. I can come right up around the eye on that high cheekbone area. And like I said, my pressure is very firm. Does this help you when you're feeling my pressure with some of these in terms of what you've been doing? When you're doing your peels?
Yeah. You're definitely very firm.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't experienced that, or they're not quite as firm in their application, and so it helps when you have it so that you can get an idea of how that needs to be. I mean, you don't want to hurt this person, obviously. You're not pulling and tearing the skin or dragging on it, but you're really laying this solution right down in there with some good pressure as you come across. And that's another reason I like using the little 2x2s for my application, say over a brush or a cotton swab. The swabs absorb so much product, and I can't get the pressure that I want. Now, if it were a really active, high-strength acid that went right into the skin, I wouldn't need that. But for how we're doing it, it works very, very well. I put this on in one direction all over. The skin has absorbed most of it. She's starting to get more erythema, particularly through the cheek area. How are you feeling?
Just pulsing. It's a little bit more so right in this area by the mouth, but otherwise very even.
And that's where she's gotten her first signs of frosting or separation on the skin. I don't know. Is there any way we can zoom in on that? Right here. And you want to kind of watch those areas as you get ready to apply more solution, that you don't oversaturate an area that has separated and frosted. Okay. So now I'm going to go in the opposite direction just to get a nice even saturation. And we went back, so this now I'm going to go across. And again with fairly firm pressure. No, this is more now. And that, I'm glad you brought that up, because you want to make sure you watch your saturation and the amount you have on your gauze so that it's equal. And as your gauze gets drier, you want to go ahead and re-wet it again. And I'm going down now as opposed to across the face. What you want to do is you get it on here really good. How's it feeling?
Feels good. You just feel the pulsing, right? Especially for me, it's in the lower part, not upper part. It just feels pulsing and like it's swelling a little bit. That's it.
And that's good information. You want to always be asking them how they're feeling. The pulsation is a good thing to know and to wait and let that sort of begin to subside, because that just tells you it's just working. It's just working, and that will stimulate at that basal layer. And so you want to wait a little bit longer and kind of let this absorb in and calm down. Remember I said TCA salicylic is self-neutralizing, so it's not a time thing. You know, I just want to let it completely absorb, let the pulsation stop. Now there's two steps that we could take. One is to remove it, which is what we're going to do, and the other is just leaving it on. What would be the advantage of one over the other? One of the reasons I tell most estheticians when they're beginning to work with these to take it off is so that you can get it off and assess the skin and determine, should I do that final step? That's really the main reason. It's not like you're actually taking this off, because it's already worked, it's already self-neutralized, it's pretty much done what it's going to do. So you're kind of just getting a good rinse on the surface, and when you do that, you are going to take some of the deadened skin cells off, and it gives you an opportunity then to get the skin completely dry, look at it, and make sure that everything is okay in your mind, and she's feeling okay, and you can move forward with your final step. Okay, and so that's really the main reason for taking this, what I say or refer to as off, is more for that. And sometimes when I'm moving right through and I know the skin very, very well and I know what my outcome is needing to be, I may go right ahead over this and do my final application. This will actually roll off some of the surface cells for you. So in a way, the removal is more about just removing some of those deadened skin cells that you created from applying this mixture. So then once you get this all kind of wiped away, you let the skin dry, reassess, and decide whether or not you're going to put your final application on, which for her will be the melanin suppressant with the topical vitamin A. And she looks great. She really looks good. I mean, the only place that's a little red, but she's been red from the first cleanse, is right here. And so it's not any redder now than it was when we started, and that's just her skin from the application of her blemish serum. If you put your hand on right now, she's very warm, a lot of heat. She's in that inflammatory response that we talked about earlier, where she's got some erythema, a lot of heat, the tissue is swelling, she's very tight. Now for some of you, just 2 layers of TCA salicylic with the 3-step prep might be the treatment. And you could just really stop right here and monitor how they do over the next week or 10 days just for a very light peeling, and then decide the next time to go a little further. Also, you could do the reverse of that. You could skip the TCA salicylic for those of you who are real new to this, and do the 3-step cleanse like we did. And now put this melanin suppressant on as your first step, and then just do vitamin A. And that way you'd be doing your vitamin A application kind of in the same way you might do a lactic or a glycolic, sort of a progressive application of retinol that could be repeated in a week or 10 days. And this is a good peel for all skin types. I found even rosacea skins do very well with this. Acne, hyperpigmented. I have never myself experienced any skin that could not do this peel. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't some peels that might actually be better for other skins. It's just that most skins will tolerate this mixture very well. And that has to do with the fact that the TCA Sal, like I said, is such a user-friendly acid, both of those acids together, and the fact that they are non-toxic and they do self-neutralize, and the skin works very well with those. And then the retinol has such a nice replenishment to the skin in terms of how it further adds to the exfoliation, but also the strengthening and the building of the skin tissue, the collagen. And so just put a dropper, and this is not too heavy-handed here. I'm just smoothing this in with my fingertips very lightly to just kind of smooth. I'm not blending or massaging too hard, and you don't want to be at this point too aggressive with that. Now you can put this on if you like with a gauze or a brush and put some in a beaker, but I've kind of gotten used to doing it this way. It just seems easy to kind of drop it on and just work from side to side. Take your time to just smooth it in. See, what we did is we numbed her skin from the salicylic.
Feels very smooth.
This is going to help this area a lot for you.
And when you did the gauze, it was the softest gauze I've ever felt after this.
Has anyone done this in a series of 3, where you do 3 of these like over a 90-day period? And what did you see from that?
It just got better and better. Initially I was using this instead of the melanin for hyperpigmented skin, and the results just got better and better. But now the same client, I've done the microdermabrasion with the baby boomer peel, and that nipped it in the bud.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of them being able to pull in your micro when you need to, for that added extra step to take it, a little bit further. And that's really real close to the treatment that Angela was talking about for you, so you can, and how you were doing it was your TCA Sal first, then your micro, and then your A, or micro first. Okay. Now this stays on the skin. The skin is a little yellow. And of course, the more yellow a skin has, the more yellow they're going to look. Or if they're a darker skin, they're going to see it more. Especially Asian skin. They take on a much more yellow tone with this. But I find it's a very doable mixture to put on the skin. I tell them that it's going to remain on the skin overnight, and that they will have this feel to the skin that's, kind of a little slippery and look a little off in color, but to go ahead and keep that on overnight. And they're always fine with it. I've never had anybody not be able to handle the mixture overnight. If you have somebody that's got an event planned and they're going to a party that night, then this would not be your choice, to do. Or you could put it on and work it into the skin with some omega-6, which is the linoleic and oleic acid mixture that we have, and you could kind of work that in so that it would be blended in a little better, and that would take some of the color away. And then they could do eyes and lips, and actually the skin looks pretty nice, then at that point. So it's, like I said, it's pretty doable. You feel okay?
Mm-hmm. Feels great.
All right, let's
really good.
Let's have you sit up. Well, so far no unusual reaction, although she does have some places where she's getting a little pinker. Can you all see that?